You guys, Diddy's legal team, they're playing hardball now. They're moving to suppress that video of him beating up Cassie in that hotel room. And, it's exactly what I said back on October 3rd. If you listen to my video, the very exact language that I use in that video, they're using in this latest motion to get the court to suppress that video. You've got to check out that video. I'm definitely, I know I'm a goofball over here, but you've got to check out that video because what I said is what's actually happened. So if you listen to what this motion to suppress the video is basically saying, it's exactly what I said here back on October 3rd, and it's one of the rare times that I took the time to write a description of the video because I'm very lazy with the descriptions. I should try to do that more with this case, but the language I use is very similar to what the defense attorneys are using, which really makes me think that maybe I'm not such a bad lawyer. Maybe I should have stuck with it, right? Because, I'm not a complete idiot, right? I mean, I do have some legal instincts here left because if you listen to the language, it's exactly what I said here in this video on October the 3rd. I said a key element of the government's case is that explosive video, like I said, that was leaked to the press before he was indicted. The video shows the defendant assaulting the primary witness in the case, who is also his girlfriend, Cassie Ventura. This video has had the intended effect, okay? It has inflamed public opinion and prejudiced Mr. Combs in the eyes of both the media and the community. This is precisely why grand jury material and other sensitive evidence are meant to remain confidential. I mean, look, you heard it here first, darlings. So if their lawyers are not following me on YouTube, we think alike. They need to hire me for this case because I've got the right instincts on this case, right? It says the leak, I said first, right, before they did. The leak was a blatant attempt to smear the defendant before he has had a chance to defend himself in court. And this should definitely not come in as evidence in a racketeering. Sorry. This should not come in as evidence in a racketeering case because the average layperson will not make a distinction. They will simply find him guilty just because the videotaped assault is so explosive, right? Yeah. And they've done a motion to do exactly what I would do if I were handling this case, is that I would move to suppress that video, among other things. I mean, I would move to dismiss a portion of the government's case out of the starting block. I mean, you're talking guns blazing, no pun intended, right? I would do a motion to dismiss the racketeering aspect of the indictment. And once you remove the racketeering indictment, the whole case comes down like a house of cards, right? Because the video, first you have to suppress that video because it's so prejudicial and so explosive and has nothing to do with racketeering, right? And then you move to dismiss the racketeering aspect of the indictment. Once you do that, the case is over. Okay, the case is over. But I said it here first, right? And so I'm not an expert, and always do your research, always double check me, because I mean, I'm just like an armchair granny, commentator over here. I have no idea what I'm talking about, but they need to pay me the big bucks because, yeah, I said it here first. So yeah, you guys, I'm going to the supermarket. I'm taking the long route to the supermarket, the scenic route, I should say, to the supermarket because I need to get some oatmeal and things like that for breakfast. So I'll make breakfast after my walk. Typically, I would eat and then take a walk. But today, I'm taking a walk and then I'm going to eat. So yeah, the Sean Combs. I don't get a lot of traffic I don't get a lot of traffic, period, on my YouTube channel. And I definitely don't get a lot of traffic or views on my Sean Combs content because, most of my audience, I realize, they are here for the Harry and Meghan commentary. But, I do think that this Sean Combs story is very, the case from a legal perspective. And, I should make that very, very clear just because I don't want anybody to confuse my position in this situation. I'm looking at this case strictly from the standpoint of a lawyer, right? I like the legal aspect of the case. I Because of my background, I did go to law school many, many years ago. I'm very, very rusty, obviously, and I don't really, criminal law was never something that I was ever going to be interested in doing, but it's definitely something that I find I have a natural instinct for, if that makes sense. I like a defense. I'm not a prosecutor. I hate prosecutors. I hate them. I don't know why. I gravitate to the defense immediately. It's immediate. It's immediate, right? And so that has sort of captivated my attention from that standpoint. I mean, from the standpoint of, my opinions about Sean Combs and his lifestyle and his choices, I'm not a preacher, I'm not his mother. I'm not his God. I am not his judge. I'm not even his jury. So I don't want to be too heavy-handed with telling you exactly what I think about people like him and their lifestyle, because it's not necessarily positive. I just feel like certain people who have been given so much, especially people in the African American community, because most of us don't have anything. We're struggling to eat, for God's sake. And you get to a certain level of success. I just think that to whom much is given, much is expected. And when you have your name being called in this kind of a mess, right? And you're somebody like this guy, it makes me angry. It makes me very angry. I'm not going to lie. But that doesn't cloud my objectivity as far as the law is concerned, right? I take that very, very seriously, because today it's Sean Combs. Tomorrow it's somebody else who may be, a decent human being who is accused. And, we have a world where certain people just somehow get lesser justice than others, okay? If that makes sense. And so I really believe that everyone, no matter who they are, no matter what they look like, no matter how much money they have in the bank, are entitled to certain basic rights. And one of the basic rights that they're entitled to, if they're accused, like Mr. Combs is a fair and impartial jury of their peers. This is a constitutional right. It is enshrined in the federal constitution of the United States, as well as the state constitutions. Every state has a Sixth Amendment type of clause in their own state constitutions, right? You have the right to a fair and impartial jury. And I feel that, and as I said earlier in the video, I was the first one on October 3rd, because if you go to all of these other YouTube channels who are talking about this case, none of them is really coming at it from the same angle that I am looking at it from, which is purely a legal. Well, I shouldn't say none, but very few. Most of them are really into the gossipy aspects of the case, right? And that's okay. That makes money. That gets clicks. That's exciting. I like it too. I go and I listen for the gossip and so on and so forth sometimes. But I'm more interested in the actual legal aspects, the legal arguments, the legal nuances of this case, because they intrigue me, number one. And number two, I think it's important to keep perspective in the society in which we live in cases like this, because today it's Sean Combs, tomorrow it's somebody else. And if we're going to encourage the system to treat Sean Combs with lesser due diligence, lesser deference, less due process than somebody else, because our moral compass, our moral sensibilities have been scandalized by his lifestyle, You know, what precedents are we setting when we do that, right? So I feel like I have a responsibility, even though I am completely disgusted by this man's, his alleged conduct, behavior, and lifestyle, and so on and so forth. That does not cloud my judgment, and I don't become too sort of sanctimonious and preachy about, that, my morality is my morality and his is his, right? We're all adults. The law, however, is the law, right? And under our system of justice in the United States, you are innocent and you're presumed innocent until you are proven guilty, right? And you have the constitutional right to a fair and impartial jury in front of your peers, a jury of your peers. You have a right to face your accusers, right? You also have the right to remain silent if you choose, etc., 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 right? And so when we have something called a grand jury, right? And these types of proceedings are supposed to be confidential. And in this case, it is my opinion, I don't know this for a fact, I just feel, right, that the videotape of Mr. Combs assaulting his girlfriend several years ago, at least 5 years ago, was released by those in whose custody this tape was supposed to be kept confidential, right? And it was released ahead of, I hope you guys can hear me. It was released ahead of the indictment intentionally, right? To prejudice this man in the eyes of the jury, in the eyes of the jury of public opinion, right? In the eyes of potential jurors in this case. They specifically wanted people to think this is a monster and he is guilty and look at what he did, right? And if he beat her like this, he beat his own girlfriend like this, he must have committed racketeering and trafficking and this, that, and the next. And guess what? They're absolutely right about that. They're absolutely right about that. Because if you go on social media, and all of these are Black social media channels, right? This is, and it's not a case of black and white, but I mean, nobody's doing this with Garth Brooks, right? Nobody's calling for his head without a trial. Nobody's saying that all his friends who ever took a picture with him are guilty by association. They're doing that with Mr. Combs, right? So, the thing is for me that this video, the release of it, has inflamed public opinion to such an extent and to such a degree that they have to declare a mistrial in this case. This is just my position on this, just from a legal perspective, right? Because whoever did that intended to inflame the public and to prejudice this man and make him look like a guilty monster. And that was a foul ball. Your thoughts?